Picture this. You are entirely alone, 200 feet underground, standing in a massive, freezing vault carved directly out of a solid limestone mine. There is no cell service. There is no Wi-Fi. The thick rock walls, hundreds of feet of ancient stone, block every conceivable signal from the outside world. The system you are working on is completely air-gapped. And as you sit there in the dark, shivering in your fleece pullover, you pull up the system logs to check a routine error. But the log doesn't show an error. It shows that at exactly 7:45 p.m., a user successfully logged into the local terminal. The only problem? It's 7:46 p.m. You are the only human being in the facility, and the username on the screen is yours. Marcus was a guy who trusted rules. He was in his early 40s, and he had spent well over a decade handling enterprise backup infrastructure. Machines do not have bad days. They do not hold grudges. They execute commands. Marcus found profound comfort in that absolute binary logic. The deep archive wasn't a standard corporate data center. It was a subterranean vault built into an abandoned mine. The air down there was heavy. It smelled like damp earth, wet copper, and the sharp, sterile scent of ozone. The vault itself was vast, endless, symmetrical rows of towering black server racks, illuminated only by the thousands of tiny, cold blue LEDs blinking in the darkness like the eyes of a million mechanical insects. On this particular Tuesday night, Marcus was wearing his standard charcoal gray quarter-zip corporate fleece, his security lanyard hanging around his neck. He was there for a simple, boring fix. Rack 42, Drive A had failed. He found the rack, opened the perforated metal door, and plugged his rugged laptop directly into the console port. He initiated the drive recovery, and because it was going to take a while, he sat back on a small metal stool. For 30 minutes, it was just him and the hum of the fans. Marcus pulled up the system logs to ensure the drive recovery was writing properly. But as his eyes scanned the green text, his fingers froze.
July 14th, 1915. User_login_success. Local_terminal_01.
Marcus frowned. He checked his heavy analog watch. He had taken the elevator down at 7:10 p.m. He hadn't even plugged his laptop in until 7:20 p.m. His brain immediately went to work. Okay, he thought. Time sync error. The server clock is drifting. But then, he saw the next line. A cold spike of adrenaline hit the back of Marcus's neck. This wasn't a clock drift. This was a command execution. He was staring at an air-gapped system that was actively processing inputs. He scrolled down, his breathing growing shallow. At 7:45 p.m., just 1 minute ago, the log read,
1935. Local terminal active. User Marcus.
Marcus stared at his own name. He wasn't typing. He slowly looked up from his laptop, staring down the long, pitch-black aisle of server racks. About 50 feet away, at the very end of the corridor, an old CRT diagnostic monitor suddenly clicked on. It cast a harsh, flickering blue glow against the damp rock walls. Marcus couldn't move. Then, he heard the sound. Clack, clack, clack. It was the sound of a heavy mechanical keyboard, but the cadence was completely wrong. It was stilted, perfect, rhythmic. Marcus looked back at his laptop screen.
1946. User_input_detected. Command_string echo_reality.
And then, the typing stopped. From the shadows behind that glowing blue monitor, a silhouette slowly stepped out. Marcus stopped breathing. The figure was holding something. Marcus could hear the faint, sharp sound of plastic tapping against the metal server rack. Tap, tap, tap. It was a security lanyard. The exact same kind of lanyard hanging around Marcus's own neck. The silhouette stood up straight, but it moved like a corrupted video file. It rose in jagged, stuttering segments, as if it were dropping frames in real life. It was learning how to exist in our space. Marcus scrambled backward, his boots slipping on the damp floor. He turned and sprinted blindly toward the elevator shaft. Behind him, he heard footsteps, but they weren't the chaotic sounds of a chase. They were perfectly synchronized to his own. Step, step. Marcus ran. Step, step. It was mocking him. It was rendering his exact physical data in real time. It wasn't just chasing him. It was becoming him. Marcus slammed into the elevator and hammered the call button. The doors slid open with an agonizingly slow hiss. As the doors began to slide shut, Marcus looked back out. Standing in the flickering blue light was the entity. It wasn't moving anymore. It was just staring. The face was still rendering. The skin was smooth where the nose should be, flickering like a broken screen. And right before the doors sealed, the entity opened its mouth, and in Marcus's exact, perfectly cloned voice, it said, "You missed a step." Marcus quit the next day, but sometimes, when he's alone in his house, he hears the sound of a mechanical keyboard coming from the other room, and it's typing in his cadence.